Many mamma was saying, I'm my wakwaba. Nansay in a yantity, say government of Ghana or per se or allow private member participation. ECG. Send a bay a correction of revenues no a backcourse one. And no and uncle Fobinum exist as some now almost say, hey, a buying ye yamofra any Ghana memoha. O per se o ton ECG. No waka amayati as but o can say, oh, my private member be abemua. Naturally say, the old cannot be a anajumanasem. Minia, a wholesome ababe deja, ewa Ghana memoha, eman confobi kasa edi afahu. Emu inchiremu aba. Is government going to privatize ECG? And I say, and yes, I can also, and omo epese, omo efa. Yem kone yanko sa video we extensively. Abayin edichiremu aba. Enan confobi muso omo actually omo adwen, ewo TV3 program bi eso. Inti tam tuku na pensuo bi si wonche na yekokɔ video no na ye wi a wonso obehu de ekoso se government of Ghana opese oton ECG ema private company bi se ne be ye wo betumi ama nkanea no agina so anase asiso da bia na revenue no so ankrofo bi no ayo mo adwen se mo entua because say wa ban sam nti no private company no atumi agege na mo atumi abo ECG ho ebra yenko na yenko videos no na yekoba you better also edit na answer na be video no unya unsubscribe ya message so be subscribe like video we na share ma unya bi no so unya bi enfe wo hwe wie so a comment bi ala wono just go to the comment section na kire wadwen na yi na entoto ya twene bi ala enye kama mera wase yankopo yisila ye video no emra yakoba ye better also.
Basically in April 2025 the cabinet of His Excellency the President approved the private sector participation in ECG. Let me state on record categorically that the government does not intend to sell ECG. The government does not intend to diversify ECG, and that what the plan is to introduce private sector participation in certain aspects of ECG's operations to improve. I'm sure that all of us on this table have had one concern or the other when it comes to ECG's operation, whether it comes to billing, whether it comes to collection, whether it comes to service delivery, whether it comes to applying for meters,
pricing,
whether it comes to generally, we've had several issues with ECG. And if you look at this government and where His Excellency the President and Honorable Dr. John Jinapor took the energy sector from, particularly power sector, the Achilles heel of our power sector has been ECG. When we came into government, ECG had liabilities of over 80 billion cedis. You had IPP debts of 1.73 billion United States dollars. Beyond that, there were how many containers at the ports that had been uncleared. Yeah. There were procurement challenges and a number of myriad of issues. The inefficiency was high. The AT&C, what we call aggregate technical and commercial losses, stood around 40%. And so there were moves by the government to immediately deal with the challenges. And if you recall, at the time this administration took over, we were shedding load of 700 megawatts in December. So the sector was very, very challenged. There had to be strategic reforms by the minister to ensure that where we are today, we've seen the light on. For 8 good months, there hasn't been any load shedding. 8 months. And we keep saying that anybody who has had his or her power off will be as a result of what we will call localized faults, which will be peculiar to your area. And so if you look at the challenges that the government met, you needed to act immediately. And that is why by the first quarter, His Excellency the President's Cabinet had approved the PSP. What the PSP will be, like I said earlier, is not a sale of ECG.
What would it look like?
What it will be is the introduction of multiple concessionaires to help handle ECG's challenges. So you look at the country, you look at the areas where ECG operates, and then you do what you call zonalization. Zonalization, you bring in the concessionaire, let's say for Tema. Tema will be handled by Honorable, this area will be handled by Austin. And then what you do is that you have your KPIs, generally you improve on billing and collection, and then service delivery. This, at the end of the day, will not be like what we saw on the PDS, where ECG itself was handed over to a private entity. And as a government, our position has always been that there's nothing wrong with privatization when it comes to ECG. And you will recall that even the PDS issue It's a government of John Mahama in his first administration that started the process under the Millennium Challenge development, where because of the actions of the previous administration in how he handled PDS, we lost almost $200 million. And so it is not to disadvantage anyone. I know that definitely workers are concerned about their livelihoods, and they've had assurances of government that that will not happen. You're not going to see anybody being dismissed or being relieved. It is to improve on the services of ECG by bringing in multiple concessionaires. Basically, that is what it is.
Rawson has attempted to differentiate between privatization and private sector participation. Rawson, we have been in this game for a very long time, and we know that they are the same. In fact, when in 1995, the Ghana government divested its shares from the Ashanti Goldfields Corporation, it didn't sell everything. It still kept a portion. When in 2007, it divested itself of Ghana Telecom, it still maintained a share. It just introduced private sector participation, and that was called privatization. Again, Rawson, you made the point that there's no problem of privatization from the point of view of government. We think that there's everything wrong with privatization, because the history and the evidence points to the fact that privatization, the way we have done it, hasn't helped this country. And we are really amazed at the concept of multiple concessionaires. In fact, it actually demonstrates a certain ideological bent to dismantle ECG. The organization of the year, according to Ross.
Agency of the year. No, just go ahead.
If that organization of the year suddenly gets dismantled by multiple concessionaires to do what it has been doing, and for which it has been recognized as the organization of the year, then it raises a number of questions. You can, in fact, coming from the IMF, you can only see that this is ideological reason. It has nothing to do with performance, because performance, we are performing. Even though we are not yet out of the woods, we are actually making progress. This is purely an ideological reason that says that the public sector is bad and the private sector is good.
ECG's metering, billing, and collection operations should be privatized. So we concur with the vision of this government in this regards. I mean, if you look at the gains that ECG has made, I must commend ECG and its workers today, and the minister in charge for energy and green transition. If you look at the administrative cost of ECG, as at last year, it was about 279 million cedis. They have cut it down to 169 million cedis this year. If you look at the coverage of bills, as at 2024 was 11%, this year was 48%. If you look at the revenue of ECG, it has increased from 900 million to 1.7 billion this year. So it's quite significant. They are doing well. But we believe that they can do more if we privatize some aspects of the operations. And so when it comes to metering, when it comes to the collection, and when it comes to billing, I think that it should be led by private sector. And it would enhance efficiency. I mean, I quite understand the sentiments laid out by the organized labor because of job security, which makes sense. But again, it is incumbent onto this government to ensure that this aspect of privatization, right, or private sector participation should have some form of job security and local content in it. Okay. I do not subscribe to the idea that it should be, I mean, we should involve foreigners in this aspect. We can involve foreigners in the, I would say, the productive aspect of generating electricity, which has a huge cost burden, right, and needs a lot of capital. But when it comes to the billing, metering, and then collection, I think that we should allow Ghanaians, government should create a facility, right, in partnership with the central bank so that they can be able to give concessionary loans to private sector participants to engage in such significant...
Government should give loans to...
through the central bank to give concessionary loans, right, which are loans that are cheaper in terms of interest with a single-digit interest rate to private sector players who want to involve in this, aspect of the private sector participation of ECG. Okay. And I believe that it would enhance efficiency. Now, part of the problems that we face as a country, and I feel highly disappointed with our leadership, is to do with our energy mix. I am totally flabbergasted when I hear that today, 70% of Ghana's electricity comes from our thermal power plants. I mean, it's so expensive to run your nation on HFO and diesel. It is so expensive. That is why the cost of electricity is somewhat expensive as compared to our neighboring countries, like Ivory Coast. And so when President Mahama...
What does Ivory Coast run on?
Well, they mostly hydro and then some thermal power plants. But when President Mahama mentioned the green transitional aspect of the Ministry of Energy, I was very happy because I am a staunch advocate for sustainable development. And indeed, if you look at part of my research, I propose some parameters when it comes to corporate environmentalism, which will be another subject of discussion another time. But I believe that if this government would go a long way to invest in renewable energy and cleaner energy right now, which is cheaper from this current 70% thermal power plants that are producing electricity, it would go a long way in reducing the cost of electricity. And we are proposing that the government inculcates or introduces nuclear energy. And I know that the ministry has started discussion. I don't know how far they have gone with that, but I think Roxanne can also give us a briefing on that. I think that will go a long way to support our industry. And indeed, the government's industrial plan of the 24-hour economy, because you cannot run an industrial base with a very expensive, energy source. You understand? You would have a huge pass on inflation onto the end consumer, and your exports will be very expensive, and you will not be competitive. So I believe that if government goes towards, reorienting our energy mix and making sure that we have more renewables in the mix, it will go a long way to mitigating all these issues with tariff prices. And I definitely concur with government's agenda to privatize the metering, the billing, and the collection of ECG activities.
They put on record that there's nothing inherently wrong with outsourcing key services or sectors of the Electricity Company of Ghana, or engaging a private entity for a clearly defined function. But what we should resist is the attempt to use operational inefficiencies, some usually politically induced, as a ruse to auction off ECG. That is what we must resist. And now I'm just curious, is the current conversation to include or encourage private sector participation truly about efficiency and reform? Or is it merely the first step towards full privatization? Me, I remain deeply skeptical and understand the skepticism of TUC and other organizations. Now, history teaches us that usually PSP is presented as a technical solution, but in practice, it becomes a soft landing for privatization.
Full privatization.
We have seen this movie one too many in Ghana.
Case in point.
Ghana Telecom. Ghana Telecom was once declared as a strategic national asset. Then, behold, boom, they just sold it. The thing is that we must be upfront. I expect government to be upfront. In fact, the president had ruled out privatization of the Electricity Company of Ghana when he had an opportunity to speak at the African CEO Forum in Abidjan in May. But the policy trajectory of this government tells a different story. I am saying that this government must be upfront and tell the workers what the intention is. But let us not use...
there are some things left unsaid?
Yes, I think there are some underhand dealings.
Why do you think so?
No, now I'm telling you, that's what I'm saying, that usually when they tell you in Ghana, when they tell you we are bringing in private sector, we're encouraging private sector participation, it's just It's just a cover up.
ECG already contracts private people to do various things.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying that inherently there's nothing wrong. But I'm saying that it's one step. Let me tell you the familiar script. This is a familiar script. Introduce a private operator under the guise of inefficiency or efficiency. 2, gradually expand the control of the private sector. Then the last one is what? It's just to diverse the state or the state interest in that company. This is a script. The 3-step is a three-pronged approach.
What's your basis?
And I'm telling you that we have government government is telling us that they are only initiating the first step.
Did they say that?
No,
Did they say that?
no, relax. No, relax.
No, you cannot
No, relax.
No.
The thing is that now to bring in private sector. No, you. But right.
No.
A few minutes ago, you said that you are bringing in multiple. No, you said you are bringing in multiple concessionaires.
Yes.
And I'm saying that is the first step towards full privatization.
So you are saying that.
Exactly.
So government is not saying.
No, so now. No, Doc. You've had your bites. You've had your bites. Allow me to.
No, don't
I think this claim is needless. Allow me to finish. The thing is that now I'm telling you that this is the familiar script. They introduce a private operator under the guise of efficiency. 2, then gradually they expand the control of the private sector. Then the last option, which is the last step towards full privatization, is where they divest the remaining interest of the state from that.
And my question is, what's your basis for thinking that this is the roadmap that the government intends to employ?
No, that's what I'm telling you, that we've seen this script one too many.
Where?
And where? Are you in Nigeria or
where?
South Africa?
Where?
I'm saying Ghana. We've seen this script played out in Ghana. And I'm saying that now.
Where there was PSP.
Oh, please stop the.
No, where? You should give you one instance.
Very significant.
Doc, wait. Let him land.
That of DVLA.
Let him land.
Now, I'm saying that
I'll come back
I agree with the
TUC's
TUC.
concern.
They must agitate and let the government come clean, because I feel that something is fishy somewhere. Because for me, I'm skeptical. I told you, and I understand their skepticism. I'm saying that someone is not being upfront with the workers. And it begs the key question. Why are you bringing, in fact, if we have privatized or we have outsourced a portion of ECG's function, that is enough. Why can't
when you still have inefficiencies?
Why you see, now I'm telling you the problem about inefficiency as he complains is because of the politicians. ECG is a strategic, technically sensitive national institution that require competent and business-minded leadership, not politicians.
How are these operations? So these concessionaires are going to bring their own workers to do their job. So, to put it simply, what exactly would the current ECG workers who are currently doing the job be doing?
Okay. Now let me give a very good example. Have you had the experience of looking for a meter? Have you had the experience of ECG workers? And regrettably, I have to mention this. People have experienced it, that even looking for a meter, you'd have to pay huge sums of money just to get a meter. Last week, there was an announcement from ECG that customers who were using a particular type of meter called the Nuru meters cannot purchase power. Yeah. What do you expect those people to do if they need power? The temptation to do illegal connection is very high. There's a lot of operational inefficiencies within ECG that we think we can fix with a private sector participation. What the government is proposing is a multiple lease model. What it means is that they get Company A, deal with the Accra zone. Company B, deal with the Etama zone. So that you have a small portion of area to concentrate on. And like Rosin mentioned, the person would buy the power with cash, prepayment. The person comes to buy the power to go and sell and must make his margins. That is what government is proposing to do. If you don't want this. So what at all is a problem of ECG workers? Your incomes will not be affected. You will not lose your jobs. But we're saying that there has been a lot of inefficiencies in the system. I recognize the fact that they have recorded some gains in the last few months. Yes. That is true. From 900 million in December last year to about 1.7 in July this year. We commend the workers of ECG for that.
And their question is, why not allow them to continue along the same path?
Now, we are looking for a sustainable fix. Today, we have a new ECG boss, we have a new minister for the sector, we have a new president. Their efforts have led, working with the workers of ECG, for us to record this. But we need a more systematic fix. And that's why we are bringing the private sector participation. Why? There's a test case for us to learn from. Enclave Power, EPC, Enclave Power, that operates within the free zones area. They do exactly what ECG is doing. But because it is privately owned and managed, the efficiency is about 99.9%, virtually zero inefficiency. They are able to recoup all their investments and make profit. Enclave Power here, because if I'm a private investor, I will not allow you, my worker, to go and connive with the end user to cheat me. It happens today in Ghana. That most of the wrongs that we see in the system, not all of them, very hardworking ECG workers, but some of them are complicit. If I was to be a private investor and you do that, I'll fire you. But can you imagine if the state was to fire 10 or 20 workers at ECG? Even if they were found doing the wrong thing?
What would happen? If they are found doing the wrong thing?
Who would push back?
If they are found doing the wrong thing?
I'm saying who will push back. So who will push? So Dr. Kobe, what at all are you? What at all is? Please. Dr. Kobe, I'm sure you have your turn. Please, Dr. Kobe.
Doc, just hold on. Just hold on for me, Doc. I'm going to come to you after.
I have just told you, and you work with the ECG. I've just told you, if you can give me counter numbers, that between 2021 up to 2024, you recorded a loss of about 30 billion Ghana cedis. And that losses that you record, operational losses, is about 40%. And that no business can thrive on that trajectory. The benchmark from PURC is 3% for losses. Benchmark is 3% from PURC, your own regulator. And yet we are getting about 40%. And all that we are saying is that let somebody come and be in charge of the metering, the billing, and the collection. And that is a problem. I don't see where the problem is coming from. Now, gas suppliers, independent power producers, they are old. We cannot continue to work on this path. The assurance that government can give to ECG workers is that nobody will lose his job unfairly.
You see, I've told you time without number that we have been part of this process. We followed the AGC privatization. We followed Ghana Telecom. In fact, we have followed about 100 privatization that has taken place in this country. And lucky for me,
100.
I sit on the PRC board. Now,
yes.
You remember when PRC sanctioned ECG directors, board members? You remember?
Yes.
Yes, I was part of those that signed that sanctioning them. And we knew what the politicians were doing to ECG. We knew it. Those that bring in the meters that cannot buy credit, they were not ECG workers. They were politicians. So there was bad politics at ECG.
Is that so?
That result, bad politicians.
You said politicians were bringing in meters.
Meters, yes.
And installing as ECG meters.
Yeah. They were the ones that were winning the contract to bring, in fact, imposing the contract on ECG to bring 40 meters. This was in 2024. I mean, not just 2024.
No, Doc. Perspective is very important.
Listen.
Doc, perspective is very important. And you can speak to ECG themselves, even the MD. This is not an administration that meddles in the day-to-day running of any of the agencies. Doc, let me clarify. It. And the ECG themselves will attest to it. The minister does not call them to influence them.
Let's let him make his point, and then I'll come back to you, Roxanne. Doc, you land. Roxanne, hold on. Doc, you land, and then Roxanne can respond.
Roxanne has nothing to respond. Roxanne, if you listen to me for understanding, you will get my point. But you are just listening to respond to me without understanding me. I'm saying that in times past, I was sitting on PR's board, and I was observing all the things that was happening to ECG. And so those losses that you just mentioned were a matter of course, because we knew what the politicians were doing at the time to ECG and its revenues. We knew them. Now, the way we have done privatization in this country, so somebody mentioned EPC. EPC, private individuals who think they have the money and expertise came together to form EPC. And they are now selling power in the thermal entry to industrial workers, to industrial consumers. So if there's any group of Ghanaians who think that they have the money and the expertise, in fact, they should set up a company and supply power in my area. If their services are superior to the services of ECG, people will switch to them. We should not attempt to cannibalize ECG. In fact, what government is doing, the proposal Russian is so eloquently elucidating, is simply cannibalizing ECG, and we will not allow that to happen. Now,
so you're saying that instead of giving out concessions, the private individuals should set up their own energy production company?
Energy distribution company, because ECG is a distributor. Just like private companies have set up their own private generating companies and they are selling power to ECG. Anybody who thinks they have the wherewithal, the capacity, the expertise, they should go to Northern Ghana and supply power to Techiman and its enclave and give them a better service and let the worker and the people of Ghana choose their service over the services of, say, Netco or ECG.
Yes, yakwako he video na ba na mje kakra meka ene say o say Ghana memu ha no the way ECG for mo fa so edidi o musika no eya na ni tria no ayedin but se ko di private member bi ensam a kwan mo fa so edidi sika no ya na eye different in this aban obetumi amma private participation bi abam se ne ebeye en kan ya no sisi ya no bi ebedi adanse say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama obaye no nkane ya no esi so senior 2015-2016 dumso na ewo Ghana no sisi ya no enti sa biem obi bia la 1DC 1PP obedi adanse se na nsen de nkane ya no yeni problem bia ewo ho indi se omo allow private member participation bi na se nkane ya no be ko so esi so ama ya enjoy dia why not but ne enye edi se omo ni nyina ebe ma private company bi ekoba sa ne buo no kura no edi Ghana for yint me entua na kwan obefa so IDG sika no so no edum bi aya na eya homte eno nti na mankrofo binum cancer sa privatization no de maso inti aban waye na dwen sa de a ontwe ensan na ban so de ntirimu abase they are not going to privatize everything but just that a portion of it be and mo pese private company no o take part in be ya revenue correction no bibi yala ebe koso wano minua video ya wo hwe yi nso wa dwen kire ewo ho ene sei aban odadae anase nokre ena eka just go to the comment section na kire wa dwen uwie nso like video we unya subscribe ye nso amesro so be subscribe na share video we ma odua bi no nso unya bi ehwe meda wase meda wo ebe share bi sisi ye background bye bye.